All right. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening to everybody in the India time zone, people who joined in from different parts of the world. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you joined in from. Yet another Monday, yet another 8 p.m. Indian Standard Time. But yet, there is a difference. And for those of you who have tuned in and listening in live, I would love to hear from you what is different. What is different? Because there is something that is different even before the show has begun. Everybody who's joined in live, tell us where you've joined in from, which city you've joined in from, and have you been able to figure out what is different on Quick Bites with HR Bites today? And while you do figure it out, I'm going to have the absolute pleasure of bringing in a LinkedIn Connect, someone who I used to follow very aggressively, someone who I used to wait, when is the next post going to come up? And someone who I have heard so much about that I said, I better get him on the show. And that is hint number one. Hint number two is my virtual background. So if you know the individual, you would know what's the significance of my virtual background with the individual. And hint number three, the world knows, people who follow him know that he has just come back from Ooty and he has put out so many nuggets out there. But over the next 60 minutes, we're going to get some more nuggets coming out. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and my friends from all orientations, put your hands together, even though it's virtually, for my friend, Mr. Tiwari.
Namaskar, Sahil ji. Thank you very much. Lovely introduction. I hope the conversation lives up to the tremendous WWE style billing that you've given it. But we'll try. We'll try. I'm glad that
Badhiya.
you are doing this on a Monday because it's very difficult to do these kind of conversations on a Monday. People are already this thing, starting with their work week. So courageous, Sahil, but maybe a good plan as well. So let's see where this goes.
एब्सोल्युटली सो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल तिवारी जी बहुत धन्यवाद, तहे दिल से धन्यवाद कि आपने अपना
आपका भी
नंबर शेयर किया लिंक्डइन पे। हमारी अभी तक मुलाकात नहीं हुई है, होपफुली 2025 में जरूर होगी। एंड आई एम सो हैप्पी that you're on Quick Bites with HR Bites. And
my
as you
pleasure.
rightly said, yes, it is very courageous. बहुत लोगों ने मुझे मना किया कि वीकेंड पे लोग आराम करते हैं, एंजॉय करते हैं, और मंडे इज हाई प्रेशर एंड मत करो। एंड इतने व्यूज नहीं आएंगे, इतने लोग नहीं आएंगे, लाइव पे लोग नहीं आएंगे। आई सेड लोग तो कहते हैं, लोगों का काम है कहना, बट हम
Yeah.
शिव भक्त हैं, और शिव भक्त होने के नाते मैंने सोचा कि मंडे को किया जाए। सो आई स्टक टू मंडे and I've stuck to 8 p.m. And yes, as they say, nothing is constant, so you never know. We may change it in the future, but as of now, it's Monday. But Tiwari ji, you've just come back from Ooty, and you've just come back celebrating your 25th wedding anniversary. So heartiest congratulations to you and to ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you,
तो Ooty
Sahil. Thank
कैसा
you very
रहा?
much. Ooty and marriage anniversary come and go, right? So the and when you have practice of 24th, the 25th is a little easier. So I can only say that much. But yes, it's a milestone. We were both looking forward to it and decided that instead of any other way to celebrate, we will drive and spend that time driving as well. So that was the fun part. I think that was very new for me, new for her as well, because both of us don't like to drive much. So I think that was the fun part. I tried something new and it worked out really, really well. So rest of it was similar, but this was the new part. So yeah.
Very interesting. Kamal and everybody else, happy Monday to you and to everybody else who's tuned in. So, without wasting further time, Anshuman, you've seen a couple of these episodes. I don't get into designations, I don't get into organizations. मेरे को लगता है they are like marriage anniversaries, right? They come and they go, but the person is important. And you built your identity based on my virtual background. Tell us, what is this brick by brick? ये है क्या? आप कोई दीवार बना रहे हैं, आप कोई माउंटेन बना रहे हैं, जिंदगी में आपने अपना पर्पस आइडेंटिफाई कर लिया, बट वो पर्पस है क्या? Who is Anshuman and what is Anshuman's quest for life?
So I don't usually fall to temptations of purpose and vision and the likes. More important is that, and I do believe science very clearly that not everybody may have the clarity that everybody else is talking about. So I don't know how the next year is going to be. I don't know how the next 10 years are going to be. Usually people are clear in hindsight. So everybody who's talking about on Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn about clarity usually is writing up after they have achieved something. So that I'm a little bit of a you can say of a radical view there that life happens and you make the most of it and do your best, that kind of thing. So the brick by brick that you mentioned, your virtual background, is more a reflection of that. As long as you can be intentional and your direction is right and you keep laying bricks which will eventually make a wall and then make a bigger wall, it is fine. For most of us, I do admit and I do understand that some people will have exceptional clarity about life and what they want to do, but that will be 0.001%. I don't represent that 0.001%. I represent the rest of the whatever 99 point something percent. So for the rest of the world, the 99%, if we skip the maths for a minute, life is a grind. You have to keep working hard. You can't fall prey to the smart work and all that crap. You have to keep working hard and leave the bricks and wish and pray, and luck will shine and someday things work out. So for me at 52, slowly things are falling in place. People like you are calling me
So you
on
said
your
for
show.
you at 25, things are falling in place. Is that what you said?
Yeah, kind of. 25 into 2 and plus 2. So,
अच्छा 25 तो
uh,
आपने मैथमेटिक्स भी कर लिया 25 into 2 plus 2 ठीक है okay.
so for most people, life is like this.
Correct.
What we are chasing is the life that the Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn shows, which is,
हाँ
not life. It is just a post.
अच्छा
So I go by this that, it's a grind. You have to keep laying bricks. You have to keep being intentional, directional, and then let life take care of itself. So yeah, so that's a summary you can say. And too much effort is being spent on compounding and everything else. First, do something, then life will compound. So people are sitting, watching reels and looking at posts and thinking about compounding like it will automatically happen on its own. That kicks in when you put the money in the bank.
true.
The financial world, in the financial world, compounding happens when you keep putting your money in a bank account, which is compounding over a period of time, and you get the logic. But you have to do that work every week, every day, every month. You
बिल्कुल
can't
सही
keep
बात है
looking at reels and posts and think that the life will turn out to be really nice. So I'm from that school of life, hence the reference to brick by brick.
बहुत बढ़िया पहले तो मुझे एक सच सच बात बताओ यू आर नॉट टेकिंग अ पॉट शॉट एट एनी क्रिएटर ऑन कंपाउंडिंग वो आप पक्की बात है या ये
Absolutely.
आपका बिलीफ है कि
मेरा बिलीव
कंपाउंडिंग
है.
बाद में होगा, पहले पैसे कमा लो, थोड़ा बैंक में डाल दो, थोड़े पैसे बचा लो, फिर कंपाउंडिंग होता है.
Absolutely. See, and look, I know most of the creators, even the top ones in the country, fairly well, or they know about me. So there's no conflict. They also say the same thing, that do the hard work, then
Correct.
things will come. What happens is that the gullible public, only sees the part that the last part, right? So they don't see the grind, they don't see the hard work part. My purpose or my mission on LinkedIn in many ways is to help people see that part. I'm not saying compounding will not happen. It will eventually happen, of course, right? So, but before that, the grind comes in. So I am
Beautiful.
that person.
No, I'm very happy that you are that person, because we need people like you also in the world to not just show us 2x, 10x, 50x, but also say that to get to 2x, you first need that 0.1x, which will then become 0.5x, 0.75x, and 1x, which then becomes 2x and 50x and 100x. So brilliant. Without putting you in a spot, if someone
Hmm.
had to, for the sake of argument, say कि आप brick by brick कहते हो, but जिंदगी में दीवारें थोड़ी पैदा करनी है. जिंदगी में तो दीवारें तोड़नी है, रिश्ते बनाने हैं. And brick as a metaphor could actually be fencing yourself in that wall. What would your counter to that baseless argument be?
I am known for, saying things as it is. I would say that don't stretch the analogy too much. Every
Huh,
analogy fails when you stretch it beyond the intended purpose. So
beautiful.
this analogy was, only meant to suggest that in your career and in general life also, and I don't intend to extend it to life as well, just in career, you build intentional skills. You learn something, then you add something, then you add something, and that the best way to explain that is a wall. And you can even call your career a wall, so that in that sense. And being a Rahul Dravid fan, uh, this came quite easily to me. So
Got
I
it.
don't stretch the analogy beyond its intended purpose.
I like what you said. Anything that you stretch beyond its intended purpose becomes useless. बहुत बढ़िया, बहुत बढ़िया. आपका एक वेबसाइट भी है?
हाँ वेबसाइट है that
क्या
happened
नाम
more
है?
because managebetter.in. So that came more because my show is called Manage Better, just like your show is Quick Bites with HR Bites. My show is called Manage Better, and once I started getting some traction on that, I thought and it was very difficult for people to find the show. That LinkedIn live shows are still easier to find now, but 2 3
हाँ.
years back it was very very difficult. If you missed something, you really can't look it. So I actually created that more to make sure that people have those links ready made available. But it's a little redundant now because LinkedIn has improved its searchability of live videos quite a bit now. You have a tab, and
Right. You
YouTube,
have a
of course,
tab.
is pretty good. So the intention of that website was to be named on the name of the show, so that people can find things a little more easy. Um, so for a year or so, I have not really invested much in that website, because the purpose, like I said, the intended purpose was met. It may not even remain next year.
Got
So
it. Beautiful. थोड़ा बताइए अंशुमन जी अपने शो के बारे में. Of course, many of us have tuned into your show. We've heard different people from different walks of life, but जो भी गिने चुने लोग हैं जो पहली बार सुन रहे हैं आपको, I think we are not a mutual admiration society, but we definitely have a lot of regard and respect for what others also create. So therefore, would love to hear कि आपने क्यों सोचा चालू करने के लिए, कब सोचा, आपका purpose क्या था, and how are you laying brick by brick on Manage Better or the show? Tell us a little bit about that.
the answer is not very romantic, Sahil, because yeah, it's a simple answer. It is a
As
lazy
if
man's answer.
you're talking to a bachelor and you're saying the answer is not romantic.
That is your problem, man. You fix that problem. I I can't fix your problems in life, right? I have my own
Uh,
problems. So
but I thought you're a
uh,
coach. I thought you are number one on Topmate and you're number one coach on maximum people come to you to fix their problems and you help them so
but
successfully.
you pay me and then I will be different.
अच्छा, ये बात है। अभी दोस्ती में पैसा बीच में आ गया। अच्छा।
बिल्कुल
Sorry,
पहले
please continue. Please continue.
so on the show, right? So I think this is a lazy man's answer. I would say the show, particularly the live part. So
Hmm.
unlike other shows that started, I didn't start really in the COVID part. So
Hmm.
I had just started before COVID. Our first version was a podcast, the audio kind.
Hmm.
Then I
LinkedIn
realized
audio.
that when I no, LinkedIn audio was not there that time. So
अच्छा.
this is the on Spotify and other places, those kind of things.
Okay. Okay.
So I started that, and then I realized that I'm anyway meeting people. So why not record it on Zoom and then use it as a video? So I did two or three of them, I think four of them. I recorded that and kind of recorded it. I see Sashi is there. Yeah, thanks Sashi for
Yeah.
joining. But
I'm also putting the
just to
comments
be,
live so that we can enjoy the comments live while you talk. So
that's
please
a good idea.
continue. Yes.
And some of these people I know, so happy to see them. But coming back to so, and then COVID happened, and then I, like everybody else, first 2 3 months was a confused state for many people, including me. I didn't know what to do, and I had started. So I thought I'll do a 10-part series and speak to 10 people in the quality and operational excellence field, which is my general field.
Domain.
When I started speaking to people, yeah, so then I realized that, oh, this is quite nice. You can do something about it. So I kept working on it, and eventually it got to some 7 8 episodes. 7 episodes. I think seventh one was live, and editing them was a pain because I was doing it all myself. So I said, "ये भाड़ में गया editing and all." I will do directly LinkedIn Live, and that's how it starts. So it's a lazy man's answer to, you know, or not enough time to.
A lazy man's non-romantic answer.
Yeah, absolutely so.
So if you
Then
had to
the
romanticize, sorry,
I'll complete that. So
yeah,
the
please go ahead. Please go
then
ahead.
comes
There's
then
a
comes the
slight
brick by
lag,
brick
so
part.
please go ahead. Hmm.
Okay, maybe is it maybe I am using a earpiece, so maybe it is because of this. Let me know it is
No,
bothering you. I will switch.
no, no, go
Eh,
ahead. I will
Okay.
time it, pace it out accordingly. Please go ahead.
The brick by brick part comes after that. So once I started doing this, then I started realizing every few episodes I would do something different. Like initially, the lives were not promoted. Then I started speaking to people. I raised the bar on the kind of guests. Then I expanded the guest list from just quality and operational excellence into wider fields, included coaching, life coaching, fitness, all kinds of people who've done something and are willing to teach others. So that's how it kept growing and eventually got to 100, and I think 100th was Ankur Pariku, and I think 115 now. So yeah, going well. Uh, the Thank you very much. The Now I'm kind of rethinking the format once again. So you may see a slightly different format in some weeks. So yeah, so like everything else, you keep laying bricks, and eventually you get to 100. I didn't make too many plans at 0. I didn't make too many plans at 10. I just
Hmm.
wanted to do the next one a little better than the earlier one. And
Got it.
every few episodes change something and make it a little better than the previous one as much as possible, of course. Not everything you can't manage that. So yeah, so that's pretty much.
Got it. And you invited 100 plus people on your show. Is this the first time you're getting on another show? कोई और
No,
podcast? Huh?
I've been on two, three. I think LinkedIn Live, not too many actually. This might be its second or third LinkedIn Live that
Second or
I've
third?
been invited. Might be second actually, not even third. So yeah.
अच्छा, ब्यूटीफुल। तिवारी जी एक बात बताओ, आपने पैसे की बात करी। लोग पैसे देते हैं आपके शो पे आने के लिए?
I've been offered, but I didn't invite those two people who offered. So
अच्छा, लोग पैसा भी
uh,
देते हैं?
offer हुआ था, but I didn't see any synergy in what they were offering. It was very undue kind of promotion, which I don't want to,
Got it.
didn't want to do.
और आपने किसी को पैसे दिए आने के लिए?
नहीं, अभी तक तो नहीं.
अभी तक नहीं दिए.
कोई रीजन नहीं है, because see, I write in my invite that this is a amateur effort. I am neither taking money nor giving money. आपको नहीं आना है तो मत आओ. There are people who said no, they will only do it for money.
Correct.
And I respect that, because they have made a choice, and they live with that choice, and they are at least clear and upfront. So there are a few people, at least three come to mind, who said that, and two of them were international celebrities. So I can understand that they might be limiting their exposure. One was Indian. So yeah, so not much actually. It's not that difficult.
Hmm.
Even, for example, many people ask me, how did you get Ankur Warikoo? He's not available, and it was quite easy actually. We chatted online, and of course, I found his contact through a common friend, and he said that, look, your 100th is coming up. We will do 100. I said, fine, fantastic. So in a few weeks' time, it was 100, and he honored his commitment. So it's not that difficult. Of course, the first few, once you build credibility, uh, credibility is extremely important. So people should
Right.
have seen you, heard about you. They know that your intent is right. Then 10 से कब 100 होता है, you will not know.
Beautiful.
But I always tell people that the first 10 is difficult. It's
Got it.
very, very
Let's go
difficult.
back to let's go back to the bricks. आपने कहा, let's say आपने एक नीचे का foundation lay कर दिया है, right? And you're going to the next layer. And you mentioned about clarity, you mentioned about being intentional, you mentioned about being focused. So, drawing that analogy, as we move through our careers, how do we be very intentional about where do we want to go, where do we want to take our careers, how do we navigate? Because for many of us, we may not have godfathers, we may not have our parents who have worked in the corporate world. So how is it that you navigate uncharted territory, or how do you lay the next layer of brick? जैसे आप देखिए your bricks को, one brick is not on top of the other brick, it's between two bricks. So वो
Yeah.
कौन सी आता है, कैसे सीखते हो, कैसे पता चलता है कि फाउंडेशन बहुत स्ट्रांग होगा या वीक हो जाएगा? How does one navigate?
So see, some of it is belief, Sahil, that, what kind of role models do you have? So, because most of the learning and role models could include parents and relatives and friends and colleagues and all that. But
Right.
when we start, there is a little bit of luck also in this. What kind of role model influence did you have in your life? So, if you're lucky and you made some choices about the people you would want to become like, then initially in your early part of your career, you are just copying or mimicking what they do, right? Including how they dress and how they talk and what they do. And eventually you find your own sweet spot in terms of what is best for you. So, but it starts with belief that I want to become somebody, something like this. Like for me, very early in my career in 1994, I was working for Raymond Textile, and the works director there, Mr. S.K. Singhal, he used to dress immaculately and carry himself really nicely, talking very well to with everybody. I was somehow, I mean, there was like a man crush, So I was like, man, ऐसा बनना है. Not just in sense, but in how he carried himself. So
Right.
that last stayed with me for some years. Then of course you elevate your role models also a little bit, and so I would say belief and where you want to go. So direction is set. Intention is about direction actually. So intention is not about speed or velocity or pace. It's about direction. When you do a 100-kilometer walk, which I've done 3 times in my career, life, uh, you are not looking at 50 kilometer when you start. You're looking at one, you're looking at five, you're looking at 10, and you're looking to maintain some pace, Same thing happens in your career. So look at what did I learn this year? Have I added something? Something I've done throughout my career is every 6 months or sometimes a year, I rewrite my resume totally. Even if I'm not looking for a job, nothing, I just rewrite my uh, resume. And that tells me very clearly as to where I am, what did I learn in the last 1 year or so. So yeah, so that those are a couple of things that come to mind. And in mid-career, it becomes very stressful. There will be politics. There will be all these new words of toxic mental health, and all this will be there. So it's a grind. Then it's a grind. लगे रहो. So that's what I would say. I'm that category of
Got it.
people.
You spoke about role models. Asif has mentioned one of my role models, but there is a question as well on a lighter note, and I'm going to bring it up for you, Anshuman, right up front on the
Sure.
screen. And Asif says, Anshuman Bhai, on a lighter note, how many people referred your long hair profile pic resembling a role model of mine, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam?
So Asif bhai, pehle to salam. Asif is from Pakistan, a good friend, and used to work for Unilever for many years. So thank you, Asif, first of all, for joining. A few people have mentioned, but I think having long hair is no. I can't even light a candle to a person like that. So this long hair was I wanted to keep it for a long time. Eventually, last year I decided that before time runs out and my head becomes like Asif's head, uh, let me let me fulfill this dream. So I know Asif very well, so I can put his leg online as well. So yeah, so people have commented, but we all know that those comments are have no meaning because that man is completely in a different universe
All right,
level. Mm.
got it. There is this thing that management jargon bolo ya jo bhi man mein hai bolo, saying that you got to manage better till a certain point in your career, and then you got to start leading.
Mm.
Right? When is that tipping point when you should start leading? Can everyone be a leader? As a junior most team member, can you be a leader? Do you believe in situational leadership, or you only believe in managing better every day? What are some of your thoughts on managing and leadership?
See, one simple answer is leadership is good management.
Hmm.
Uh, Henry Binsberg, who after Peter Drucker is considered one of the most enlightened souls in management, wrote about this that good management is sometimes enough. Uh, Leadership and leadership talks are sexy, so they sell books. Who wants to go and attend good management course? But if you say that become a better leader in 2 hours and 15 minutes, and or one this book will make you a better leader, we all know that is crap. But we know that that hope is being sold. It's a lie. And we are buying that lie because it sounds interesting. I don't want to become a better manager. I want to become a better leader. If you are 25 and somebody sells you this, complete nonsense that you are leader of your 2 square feet and all that, and you start thinking that abhi to ho gaya corner office and all that, हम सपने देखना शुरू कर देते हैं, which actually is very detrimental to your career because your mannerism and behavior and approach will change, and that will actually make you worse. I have seen many careers go, good careers, potentially good careers, go off track because they started believing that they were this leader and all that bit too early in life. So that is one. Two, the important part, of course, is that eventually it is about the bricks that you are adding. At some point, it will be a wall, and that is extremely important. And that stage you will lead a team where you can create or define a vision for the team. You can create a plan and you can take people along with you. People will uh, eventually, leadership is a gift that your people give you. They choose to follow you, right? So if they choose to follow you, then you are a leader. Boneless a leader through that I am leader some. So most people are just faffing around saying we are leader of this thing, and two people don't follow them in real life, not on online Instagram, YouTube and all this. This is all
Right.
Moh Maya. So I'm from that generation. Maybe my generation is fading away, dying away. But till I am strong, I will continue to bat for this. That this is extremely important. You will become a leader when people see you as a leader, not when you see yourself as a leader.
Very true.
And do something for your people. Let them lead them, show them the path, guide them, help them become a better version of themselves. Then that reciprocity is there. Then they say, okay, I worked for this guy 5 years ago, and but he or she, remains one of the best. So that's my point of view, and I've chosen to live my life like that. I rarely smile at being introduced as a leader. I don't believe in that. I'm not there yet. And all this, much of the stuff sold online is just to make a good post, sell a good book, a good course. So किसी का कुछ नहीं होता है.
Hmm.
Eventually you have to work. So
Got it. Would it be fair if one had to say that Anshuman Tiwari is a voracious reader?
oh yes, I think compared to most people, I will definitely be in the top 5%, maybe 1%.
And what would be the top five books you will recommend to three generations: Gen X, Millennials, and Gen Zs? Or maybe one book
Um,
each for each generation to be relevant in today's time.
I think the one I'll think of, I can't maybe classify by generation because I don't think like that. I think
Sure.
the current generation is as smart as our generation or as dumb as our generation. Maybe their, expression has changed significantly. Their mannerism, because life today is different, right? We saw that, desk telephone when I was like in, final year of school or something, So today kids are born with a phone. So their true life is very different. But coming to books, one book I always recommend to anybody who wants to get better at in work and life is Seven Habits of Highly Effective People by
Hmm.
Stephen Covey.
Yeah.
Remains the absolute gold class. Second, recommend is the Last Lecture by Randy Pausch. If the audience doesn't know about Randy Pausch, so Randy was on the original, team that created the Star Wars, and those other series. And he was a computer genius, professor in Ivy League universities in the US. But at an early age, early from a professor point of view, he got life-threatening cancer, and he knew that he did not have even 1 year to live. And the university actually had a lecture series called The Last Lecture, which was actually meant that the last lecture of the semester. But for him, it was the last lecture. And that last lecture eventually became a book. And fabulous, fabulous book. I think other than these two, I would say there is a book called, I forget the author's name, I think Gary Piker, The One Thing. So which talks about doing one thing at a time, which is similar
Hmm.
to my concept of brick by brick. In essence, of course, he's laid it out very well. So some of these books I would strongly recommend, and I already mentioned Henry Mintzberg's Managing as a master, but that's a very academic book, so I'll keep that out. It's not a very it's not for everyone. Let me put it this way. So yeah, I think Asif is mentioning Winning by Jack Welch. Yes, I would add that. But since I asked only two, three, I'm mentioning that. I saw a wonderful question from somebody. I think
Yeah, we'll come
Sashidhar.
to that. Shashi mentioned good
Yeah,
to great from his side, and Asif has also mentioned Winning by Jack Welch. Everyone
correct.
else who's tuned in, let us know which is your favorite book. And we would love to know which is the book you're currently reading, or which is your favorite book. It's pretty much like what you're watching on Netflix, but also which book are you reading. Asif also had a question, so I want to bring up his question. And I think it's a very pertinent one because in the way we are living, where everyone goes to chat GPT, AI, is individuality, Anshuman, getting lost somewhere? And how is it that we ensure that somewhere down the road we don't become bots ourselves?
Look, Asif, I can't really see that far. But all I can say is that ChatGPT or other generative AI, tools that we use today, they are they're helping us. So go back 50 years ago when computers just started, then Google and other internet. Each generation when these tools were introduced, they were introduced as life changing, and everything will change after that, and we will only have coffee on Mars and everything. None of that happened. And I've been around a little bit, so none of that happened. Similarly, these new tools will get embedded into how we operate. And look, already, if somebody is posting, for example, an image generated purely by AI, most tools are able to put it as a watermark that this is generated by AI. Very soon, you will find something similar for text also, that it will be able to decipher that okay, your text is coming primarily from AI. So I don't see that much of a problem. I am using ChatGPT or other such tools more as experimental and seeing how they can help me get better. Can they help me do some research on a particular topic? I think only few days back I posted about some 10 mid-career issues. So I actually wrote mine down and then asked ChatGPT, and then saw that 6 or 7 were very similar. Then I edited my own list and improved it a little bit. So yes, if you are using it as a research tool, they are fantastic and they should be used. And throughout history, see, before people were writing, everybody was only talking, right? So imagine what writing would have done to people who were talking. People who were making a living out of only memory and narrating stories out of memory. When writing came, they would have thought that boss, अपनी तो नौकरी गई, right? So uh, every generation for thousands of years, whenever some technological breakthrough, we only see technology as computers. But look at the time when people who were only in the oral tradition remembered everything and narrated. When writing came about, what must have happened? uh, Completely changed everything. Right today, when printing press and the Hindenburg press happened in the I think 1450s and 1500s. Um, print. In fact, the language we are using today, English, is the world's premier language, spoken language today because of printing press, not because of anything else. It was not the primary language because it was easier to print Roman letters as in English compared to the Latin alphabet. So it was easier to print. That is why Hindenburg press used more of the Roman letters, and suddenly there were books all over the world which were written and read in English, and the other languages just vanished. So that's what technology does. Those who
Right.
will ride it, they will do well.
Yeah. I think we've almost hit half time in conversation, but I want to come to the crux of our topic today, which is about midlife crisis. So, three questions, and you can break them up and share your points or your thought process. One is, help us demystify what is this midlife crisis? क्या है ये प्राणी? ये कैसा प्राणी है? ये कब आता है? कब निकलता है? कहाँ से आता है? कब गायब हो जाता है? What's the time period when it comes and goes? Second, I think, is what are some of the symptoms? How can one figure out that someone is actually in the phase of a midlife crisis? And three, of course, putting all the cards on the table. One that you know that it's midlife. Second is you're experiencing it. Third, what are some of the ways to navigate or get out of it? So three questions. Happy. I'll keep coming in between, Anshuman, but I wanted to pick your brains on this topic as
Sure,
well.
sure, sure. I think Very useful question. So, firstly, I I don't pretend to talk about mid life as such, but mid career. So
Sure.
I can barely improve my own life. I'm not taking responsibility for other people's lives. Um, from a mid career point of view, once you've worked in the early part of your career for 3, 4, 5 years, you enter mid career, which is when people are no longer expecting, you know, for you to be easy, and there's a higher expectation. You might become a team leader, or people will say, oh, boss, ye bhi nahi aata hai, what have you learned in last 5 years? That's the first entry segue into the mid career. It may not be a position, it may not be a title, but people start expecting you to now deliver properly, and that is around 3, 4, 5 years, that time period, and it can lead to till you are retiring. So it can be 55, 60 also, because you may not everybody will get to higher levels and get into positions where they will be able to manage large teams and experience other facets of management or leadership. So the whole that piece, maybe let's say from the age of 25 to 55, the 30 years, and I jokingly sometimes say this is longer than most people are married. So this needs
But
some
actually,
attention.
also true
It could
in
be
many
true. It
cases.
could be
It
in
could
many
be true in
cases.
many cases. Yeah.
I say it to just to get attention. It's a phrase I use just to get attention. But you get the point. That is one. So it's a long phase, and symptoms symptoms generally appear when people expect from you and you are not able to deliver, or there is a lot of expectation. You stop learning too much. You start thinking that you already know this, therefore you stop learning. Many of these things start happening, and you are stagnating in your career. You start getting the feeling that, look boss, 3 years I've been in the same role, not realizing that other people in the same role have been there for 5 years. So how will you get promoted ahead of them in 3 years unless you are exceptional, right? Unless you are doing something special, then also it may not be enough. So that realization that this is life then starts hitting you at around that mid-career age. So these are some of the symptoms. Stagnation is the most common symptom, I would say. Performance also stagnates, and the way to come out of it, all of this, is to build some additional skill sets. uh, go to the edge of your domain. If you are like I was in quality and operational excellence, so I started taking up roles in transformation, which is the edge of my domain, so I can move on to another area, slightly bigger area, and so on. But you need some courage, and i I keep telling people that if you want to do well in life in a long career, have the courage to start at the bottom of something. If you don't have the courage to start at the bottom of something, you will never get better. For example, this show, if you didn't start, you won't get to 10. If you don't get to 10, you won't get to 100. Right? Uh, I've been into amateur running. Currently, I'm injured and my knee has some issue. But if you don't start and complete your first 10 kilometer in, let us say, 90 minutes, you will
Hmm.
not get 90 minutes. Right? It may take 1 year to get to, and maybe 10, 12, 15 races to come to 60 minutes from 90. But if you start dreaming that, Sahil did that run in 60, 59 minutes, I will also do it. You are only going to increase the bill for maybe something like Fortis or Apollo Hospital or something.
Right.
So those are the two, three things I will say. And I can see some good questions from Shashi and Akash. And I see Gopal, who has joined from his wonderful show Career Shifts.
Let's take Akash's question. I think, of course, Gopal also
Maybe,
mentioned starting.
maybe, maybe
So,
if you don't mind, we can take Shashi's question. This is the second time he's asking that.
sure, which one would
So
you like to take? I'll bring it up.
I think on the work-life balance and all. So I can
No,
see where
go
he's
for it.
coming from.
Yes, go for it. I know that's
So
anyway a very hot topic, but
this
I
70
think go
90 debate, and all that goes around it. So mm, I'm from a generation, you can say, which relates more to the 70-90 one. So disclaimer. I totally believe in hard work. I, of course, don't believe in this 70-90 and measuring and all that. because some of it will be manual labor, right? So you are doing the same thing repeatedly and don't get better at it. Then it is like everybody calls it. At the start of my career, I would literally open the office and close the office also. But then I was not married at the time. I didn't have a family. I had every luxury to go home and just sleep. And I enjoyed that. I learned quite a bit. I did it on my own, with my own, I would say, will. It was not forced upon me, and that's how I think about work life. When you start liking your work a lot, and you're learning and you're growing and you're understanding, it is no longer work, because it is expanding who you are, and that is extremely important. And frankly, when I was growing up in my career, even if I wanted to spend my time and money anywhere, I didn't have the avenues. But today's generation is different. So the debate may be different for today's generation, uh, but still the fundamentals remain same. Work-life balance and other things are our choices we make. I have a very strong view, therefore, however, that if you want to enjoy work-life balance, and it tends to be, most of this debate is from people who want to enjoy the life part more, and then forget your promotions and climbing up the corporate ladder. It is going to be very difficult. Anybody who's built anything worthwhile has worked their ass off, and it's not easy to build something great. ये LinkedIn पे, Twitter पे, all this, taking pot shots at leaders who are so beyond your, ability and capability is very easy. I can take a pot shot at, Narayan Murthy or SNS, and who's built great companies. हमारे कुछ औकात नहीं है यार. these All these people who are talking, about work life balance have no clue. They That is my very, limited view. So I will clarify this, Shashi, since you asked this twice. I think hard work is extremely important. I don't want to put a number of 70, 90 and all, and that probably is not my place to do that, but hard work is definitely important. Secondly, at some point in your career, you will have to sacrifice what you call life. If you don't do that, you will not have work later on in your career. It is going to be very, very difficult. And thirdly, don't base your, you know views on these topics on the 1% of people who have the luxury of work-life balance. I am yet to see a, surgeon, teacher, rickshawala, plumber, electrician ask for work from home, ask for work-life balance and all that. This is all LinkedIn and Twitter. So only people who are on LinkedIn and Twitter have the luxury to talk about all these topics. बाकी लोग मेहनत कर रहे हैं, they are earning their livelihood, and they are not interested in this debate. So we are very, 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 very small percentage of the. It doesn't matter in the national psyche. It only gives good press, good post, some likes and some views, and maybe किसी का YouTube वीडियो चल जाएगा, those kind of thing. But होता कुछ नहीं उससे.
Got it.
Nobody's life has really changed.
Right. I think, Anshuman, you also touched upon the fact that if you want to have a long career, you have to sacrifice somewhere on life. That's what you mentioned. And many a times, a lot of people are faced with these dilemmas in their mid-career. That should I say no? Should I stretch? How much should I stretch? Because the reward for good work is more work, and therefore my priorities may have changed. How does one shine through mid-career dilemmas?
So Shine is also an acronym that I use for during my coaching sessions as well. So I'll probably use that as well. But in general, these are all choices we make. So i- trouble is when we start living our life based on somebody else's choices. That is where the debate starts. I know people who work only 4 hours a day, 2 hours a day, and they are doing perfectly well. They are making their, good amount of money, and they have a skill that they can sell. And 2 hours, 4 hours a day is enough for that skill to be sold, right? So they are doing fine. There are other people I know who are working 14 hours a day. They don't have a specific skill to sell, so hard work is their skill. So they are managing that part. Now, Coming to Shine, so the acronym I use is SHINE. Is S is for socially fluid people. So you in mid-career particularly you should be a little socially fluid. See, your reputation reaches the room before you do. So when
True.
you reach the room, people actually know you. Are you able to get fluid with them? Are you able to mingle and merge with them as one? That is extremely important. If you are going to stick out as a sore thumb, either as a very amazingly brilliant person or as a total idiot, both ends are not going to work in terms of mid-career. Right? And this debate is only important for people like us, not for Elon Musk and all. So they are in a completely different zone, right? So they can do whatever they want because they're in a class completely different. So
Yes.
that's totally fluid. H is for hard work. So some hard work is required. Nobody fires a hardworking person. Nobody. Right? I is for intellect, which basically means can you solve some problems? As you get into mid career, you have 5, 7, 10 years of experience. If you can't solve problems at this stage, then why do I need you?
Yeah.
Right? So there are people in I manage large teams. I find sometimes that they are only expecting me to solve their problems. After a
Mm.
while, I don't have any use for them. At the first opportunity, I fire them.
Mm.
Uh, I am not paying you or tolerating you for doing what I am asking you to do. That I can get done from a much junior person. Your
Mm.
experience, your seniority is to be able to solve those problems. So SHI. N is for numbers. So meet your numbers. Whatever
Mm.
be your job, whether it is sales or otherwise, please meet your numbers. If you don't meet numbers, sooner or later you will have a career accident. E is for emotionally agile. So there will, in spite of SHIN, you will have setbacks in your career. How do you respond to that setback at that point is going to define the next 5, 10 years. So that is emotionally agile, or how you emotional agility is a fantastic book by Susan David by the same name. It's here somewhere, but I don't want to now look and look
All
for
right.
all for you. It's a fantastic book. So that's the
Interesting.
shine book that I often share with people, that keep these 5 things in mind during your mid career, and they take care of social aspects, emotional aspects, hardcore business, and people, all the facets that you need. So that's what I would say.
Very nice. I think another point that's come up by Shrikant, which I think is important, is many a times we see people wanting to either walk away or hit midlife career dilemmas, crisis when they get very bogged down by toxic managers. How does one deal with toxic managers?
So Srikanth, I come from a time where I don't understand all this toxic and mental health and all that. So आपने को नहीं जमता है ये तो
ना समझते हैं ना जमता है.
so but then some people might call me toxic then, right? So uh, but I I I'll take your I understand the import of the question, even though my limited understanding may not relate to the term. What he means to say is that difficult managers or
Yeah.
managers who are over macromanaging and or abusive, or yelling and shouting and ranting,
Simple
raging, and
someone who just adds to
those
your
kind.
element of stress.
Yeah, and
Simple.
daily stress.
Yeah.
So one way to look at it is there might be something in us also. Right.
Right.
So we may be lacking in performance, we may be lacking in delivery. See, everybody thinks that, particularly, we all have very high regards for our own ability and performance. And if anybody knows about Dunning-Kruger effect, it says that 90% of the people feel that they are better than average, which is not possible. Right? So only 50% will be better than average. So yeah, this is a mirror I show that पहले look inside. Are you lacking in some areas? Have you not performed up to expectation? Are you not good in? Can you cover those areas, right? So see, eventually in a toxic situation, like I forgot the name, Srikant, I think. Srikant
You
asked,
can't. Yes.
the part that you control is your part. You don't control the other person's part, right? So can you control? Now, having done all that, you still find that it is not improving. By improving yourself in the last 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, by looking at all your gaps, by improving on all those, you would become a fantastic candidate for a good job. So for another job, right? So then find another job. Who's asking you to stay in a job and daily say, toxic, toxic, toxic? Instead of use that time to get better, manage better, as I say, and be intentional about your career, build skills, try and be better, and somebody else will find you useful. And if somebody else does not find you useful, nobody else is finding you useful. So फिर तो mirror is in your face. You are not what you think you are. राइट तो आप मुंगेरी लाल के हसीन सपने फिर आई ग्रो अप एट अ टाइम साहिल व्हेन देयर वाज अ सीरियल कॉल्ड मुंगेरी लाल के हसीन सपने and which the name is self-explanatory. So
Yeah.
I'm this kind of a person. I keep telling people both what is in your control. Is the toxic manager in your control? No. Is HR in your control? No. The only piece of the puzzle in your control is yourself. So you improve and you get to a level where somebody else will offer you a fantastic job and you will have an exit, honorable exit. Of
Got
course,
it.
during that period, you will have difficulty.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
Okay,
Sorry,
we'll move to
Srikant,
Rishabh.
this
I
might
think.
not.
Yeah.
Srikant,
Sorry.
this might not have been the answer that you were expecting, but
No, I don't
so
think we're here to give answers that people are expecting. I think we're here to hear your experience and your lens. And जैसे आप कहते हो, आपके ज़माने में जिस तरीके से आप देखते हो. And I like the way you also put it, Anshuman. It's not easy for someone to say that, hey, my team may think that I'm toxic, right? It takes a lot
yeah,
of courage to call that out. And I think that is also an important aspect of managing better, because if the self-awareness is not that it is, but I'm saying generally if the self-awareness is missing, or if you rightly said average is always 50%, but if you're going to think and you're not going to self-reflect or not see the mirror and always find faults on the other side, you're never going to get better. But which
absolutely.
moments make impact or most impact on the overall journey? And I know you like focusing on careers. So let's take Rishabh Saxena's question with a focus on maximum impact on the overall journey happens when?
Very difficult question, Rishabh, in a long career to single out, but I have made some intentional choices, and I can only share what I have done, and
Hmm.
interpretation and inference is for you to draw. I can't preach from my experience. So one was when I had a traveling job significantly from 1998 to 2006, and around 2005 I realized that I had a growing family and I needed a job which allowed me to stay home a lot more than I was. So those that was a specific moment I remember. Then in 2010, I remember I realized that had a job which was becoming very preachy. So everybody was listening to me and agreeing to me what I was saying. I was a Baldrige model consultant, and that's when I realized that I need a more active job, which is I should be doing things a lot more. So that is when I moved to another job, and subsequently also there was situation. So I've always become very uncomfortable when people start agreeing to me too much. So all the moments in my career which are, you can say, special moments like you mentioned, are all related to people agreeing to me too much, and the sense of challenge and growth and learning is not there. And those are the moments when I have made a choice to move on from those teams. So I will summarize, keeping an eye on time. So I'll summarize that.
Absolutely. And given that we have 30 seconds before we wrap up, I think our common friend Gopal says the issue is with hard work. Can we just keep it as work with whole heart? Another
Absolutely.
perspective to look at things. Yeah, absolutely. What are your thoughts,
I like it. No, I totally
remarks?
like it. I totally like it. I think while there is limited value in how we say things sometimes, but there is definitely some value because people do attach value to a certain specific word. So calling it hard work is definitely far better than calling it hard work. Um I'm still old school, so I will still call it hard work because I don't see any shame in hard work. Not to say Gopal sees, but Gopal is far more energetic and modern than I am. So He's coined a phrase, hard work. I totally agree. I like it.
Beautiful. I think we have some good comments coming in, and maybe as we fade away, I'm going to get the comments up one by one just for everybody else to see them and, of course, go back to the episode and listen in. But Asif, thank you for being so participative in the entire conversation. It almost felt like you were a panelist of video. And I'm going to bring your long comment up, and which is going to cover both our faces, but so be it, because it was a very nice comment. We've forgotten to apply the principles that you've learned in quality, operational excellence, product life cycle curve, innovate, career sale loss, potential disaster that is going to hit. I think brilliant. If you just pick up the
Yeah,
keyword as well. Anshuman?
yeah. I mean, Asif is a very insightful, intelligent person. So I agree. And we are some of parts of our career are similar. So he has similar backgrounds in quality and operational excellence. So I completely agree. I think.
Okay, so Anshuman, one for the road before we leave. What values advice would you share for the current generation? And you said it doesn't matter which generation, so let's take it across to be successful in personal and professional life. One for the road.
So, Kruti, if you've been in this episode for some time, you would have realized that I am hardly the, three tips for this and five tips for this and seven lessons for this kind of a guy. So one is even more difficult. But since you have asked, and I must respect you, the fact that you took the time to ask the question, I do in general think that sincerity towards the purpose that you are working for, whether at work or in personal life, is extremely important in relationships as well, at work as well. Eventually, work is also relationships. So, that sincerity for the purpose is extremely. See, things will come and go, managers will come and go, and companies will also come and go. But are you known for being sincere when you do leave this world? The obituary, would it include the word sincere in it, or you choose your word, right, and then live your life accordingly? I chose the word sincere, intentional, these kind of words. Intentional is a very clear word for me. I didn't have a very good start to my career. My education is very limited, very simple. uh, but I realized that if I wanted a long and fulfilling career, I had to put bricks in place. So that's the life I chose. Maybe I got at 52 what others would have got at 42 or even earlier. And maybe there are others who will not get this in their working life, may not be at 62 as well. But you choose your life. So I chose the word intentional, and आप अपना word choose कर लो. जब आप ये छोड़ोगे, this शरीर, what is the word you want people to know you for? Then live your life accordingly. Live your life backward. That will
Beautiful.
be a.
Think of that word and live your life backward. Very, very
Yeah,
nice. And of course, the shine is doing the rounds. So thank you, Anshuman, for that. And before we leave, I think
sure.
it's important to also talk about the pinnacle, right? Like on every cake, a cherry looks very beautiful. After you've put brick after brick after brick after brick and you built your wall, what is that one thing that should be on right on top of the wall?
I think I mentioned this, that people at the end of my working life, career, life, whatever, say that, I was able to live an intentional life and help as many people as I could. That is the wealth I have. I I not really care too much about material benefits. I'm not saying that I live poorly. I do enjoy some nice things in life, but the wealth I've gathered is, there are a lot of people across the world, Sahil, people who may not have ever met me, uh, who I really love and they love me back. And that's the wealth you generate over a long career. And it's by no means over. I have still 25 more years to go. so so I see it that way, and that's the greatest joy that I get in any work situation or even in life as well. But it is more manifested in a work situation, or it is more public in work situation. Let me put it this way. So,
Beautiful. रिश्ते कमाए, दोस्ती कमाए, इज्जत कमाया.
इतना बहुत है.
Thank you so much, Anshuman. Really enjoyed this conversation, and I do hope and pray that what you set out on, including through this podcast, it goes across to the world. And when anyone needs to have a conversation on where do they lay their next brick, they reach out to you. So thank you so much for
Sure.
being
I look
big
forward
part
to
of
that.
it. Thank
And
you.
all the best. Very soon, Sahil, you should get 200 episodes as well. Okay. Thank you,
Thank you so
everyone.
much.
And anybody who wants to reach out, I reply to almost every DM on LinkedIn. So if you do want to reach out, you can. Okay. Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Thank you.